Great. We'll just give it a few minutes to make sure everyone joins. Hello, everyone. We'll just give it a couple more seconds as people continue to join, and we can go ahead and get started. All right. So, hello. I am Jeremy Harp. I am the CEO of Collegeize. And at Collegeize, we help students and families prepare for their best fit college. And I am here to present on starting the college search process. Fiveable has brought me on to present this information, and I hope you guys are able to find this information useful. We are using Mentimeter as well for questions. The code, I can give it to you, which is 508233732. So again, 50823732. I can just give you a little background on myself. So I'm originally from the Atlanta area. I went to Yale University for undergrad, where I majored in African American Studies and Political Science. And after Yale, I went into education. So that's how I got started in the education space. I started Collegeize in 2010, 2011, and I've been working on it ever since to really, again, help families and students prepare for their best fit college. After starting Collegeize, I actually went to the University of Georgia for my master's in business, and I currently work at Cox Communications. So some of you may be actually watching this via Cox Cable, and so I work for that company. So without any further ado, I will start sharing my screen and get on with the presentation. All right, so again, this is the presentation for starting the college search process with me, Jeremy Harp, and Collegeize featuring Fiveable. So just to give a quick overview of how things are going to go, I'll do a quick introduction of myself again for those who may not have got it the first time. We'll actually have a Collegeize activity. So if you don't have something handy, just grab a piece of paper or a pen or whatever you can jot down notes with fairly quickly. It'll be a fun activity, so don't worry, it's not a quiz or anything like that. And then after that, we will go over the getting started section and how we actually start that college search process, followed by finding your best fit college. So I have a few factors, about 5 factors, to make sure that we all are aligned on how to find your best fit college, and we'll go over those in detail, and that's where we will be spending the majority of our time. The final thing is questions. So again, I've included the Mentimeter code here. If you have not already done so, I will try my best to multitask and look at questions, but if not, we'll do that at the very end, answer questions, and we can go back over it. All right. So again, I am Jeremy Harp. I'm originally from Atlanta. I went to Yale for undergrad, bachelor's in African American Studies and Political Science. And then that's when I started Collegeize, is not long after I graduated. And then I went to University of Georgia for my master's in business, and I currently work at Cox Communications. So a little bit about Collegeize. So we have an app. So if you have not downloaded already, feel free to download on the App Store based on your phone. And what the app does is help you prepare for college by providing the information relevant to your college search. So that is something that we do. So definitely check that out. Additionally, if you have the ability to download our resources section, our Collegeize College Comparison Organizer, I would be sure to download that. We'll actually be using a version of this in the presentation, so make sure that you go and get that document as well. Both are free. The app as well as the resources are free. You can go to our website, collegeize.org/resources for the College Comparison Organizer. All right, so again, Collegeize activity. So if you don't have a pen or pencil handy, you can grab one of those. You can do notes on your phone, whatever you can. I'll just give a couple seconds just to make sure everyone has a pen or a pencil. Okay, hopefully everyone is at least something to write with for the activity. Okay, ready? So in the next 2 minutes, I'll give 2 minutes, we're going to name just as many colleges as possible. Whatever comes to mind, any groups of schools. I've already shared 2 schools that I've gone to. We're going to do that in for 2 minutes. So I have my timer ready, so you can get started right now. Starting now, go for it. As many colleges as possible. So again, think of groups of schools, like the Ivy League is a group of schools. Thinking about sports, I don't know if you guys are SEC fans, ACC. Give a couple of hints. There are a lot of colleges for states, so university of a certain state, maybe even a certain city. There are colleges named after famous people. You can do that. Okay, so it's been 1 minute. So we have 1 more minute to go. There's no pressure. Let's see, think about colleges your parents have potentially gone to, your friends have gone to, family members. We've got 30 more seconds. And no worries with anything if you haven't come up with that many. It's just to make sure we get started on that process. All right, time is up. So how many did you come up with? Whether 5 or 50, it doesn't actually matter for right now. It wasn't a competition. If we were to be in person, I'd see how many people got, and the person who had the most would get a prize. But the important thing is we got started, and that is the first thing that we need to acknowledge. With that activity, you're already on your way to finding your best fit college and starting your college search. So preparing for college actually starts today. That list of colleges you just created is that list that we're going to get started with finding your best fit college. And before we move forward, I'll actually just define what a best fit college is, just so that we can all be on the same page of why we need to find a best fit college. So to me, a best fit college is your best fit college fits you academically, your finances, as well as your interests. So going back to the Collegeize organizer, this is a potential list of colleges that I created. So hypothetically, let's say I did the activity. These are the list of 11 colleges that I came up with, and here are my colleges in my Collegeize organizer. And so what the point of all of this will be is to create a list, and so that you can be able to research schools and colleges to create something like this, just to make sure that you are able to fill out the Collegeize organizer so that you can keep track of all of the important information you will need for understanding whether a particular college is your best fit or if it is not a best fit college for you. Okay. All right, so here are the 5 factors for finding your best fit college. And these are items that we've come up with at Collegeize that we felt really have helped students and families narrow down the list of 5,300 colleges that are out there to those few that you should be applying to. All right, the first factor is, can I get in? That is the most important factor, and we will go over that in a little bit more detail. The second factor is, can I get out? Of course, graduation is important. That's the whole reason that we go to college, is to earn a degree. So that's why that is important, and we will look at 4-year graduation rates as well as 6-year graduation rates. Can I afford it? That's a question that comes with a lot of tension and stress, but we'll go over how we know what college costs are, how we can avoid them with financial aid of different types, and how we can assess which colleges will charge us more or less based on certain criteria. SELF is number 4, and that's an acronym for size, environment, location, and feel. That's typically what people think about when searching for colleges, but we'll show you how and why that still should be number 4 on your list. And finally, wants and desires. So here, wants and desires refers to, let's see, are we going to an all-boys school, all-girls school? Are we going to an historically Black college or university? Are we going to an Ivy League? These are certain factors that will play into your decision, but it should not overweigh all the other factors. Another thing to consider here are the wants and desires of your family. Does your family want you to stay in state? Are they okay with you going out of state? These are just all factors we will go into a little bit more detail as the presentation goes on. All right, can I get in? So of course, this is the most important question. And it is important because, of course, a college cannot be your best fit if you cannot get into that college. I think that is the number one thing. And all the students want to get into colleges and make sure that they can attain a degree from that school. This factor is also important because it's one of the ones that changes every semester. So every time you have a GPA change, you get new grades, your likelihood of getting in may change based on that. So here are the important factors when you look at yourself and how you know whether or not you can get in for a particular college. So what colleges look for are GPA, SAT and ACT scores, your resume, essay, letters of recommendation, and potentially an interview. And though I have resume listed, it's not a real resume. You don't have to submit an official resume. It's just things you would typically put on a resume. So a lot of extracurricular activities, for example, and those are the items that really display some of your passion and may impact whether or not you will be able to get in. Another thing that is important to consider is your interest in the school. I have a little nugget here because that reminds me to give a short story. So I, again, attended Yale University for my undergrad, but unfortunately, I was not admitted to Emory University. Again, I'm from the Atlanta area, and Emory is right down the street. I was a competitive applicant, so I would have expected to get into Emory. So after receiving my notice of rejection, I talked to an admission officer, and they realized that I never showed interest in that school. So I lived 20 minutes away. I've never set foot on campus. I never talked to a recruiter, and it was the only school in Georgia that I applied to. So from the admissions office's perspective, I have not shown interest in the school, and the likelihood of me going to that school was really low. And to be honest, that was true. I would not have gone to Emory unless I really had to, and that is something that you should do. Is if you are interested in a particular school, make sure you show interest, make sure you visit campus, make sure you talk to someone. I'll also say that one of the reasons I feel like I was able to get into Yale is because I did a summer program and internship the year before my senior year at Yale. So I got to stay on campus, visit with students, talk to professors, and really get a sense for what it's like to be on campus. So on the opposite side, Yale knew I would come because I was very interested in applying after that experience. The second component is the college's perspective. So when I say the college's perspective, I mean factors related to that college. So what are their acceptance rates? There are some colleges with really high acceptance rates, so your likelihood of admission and getting in is automatically higher at that school, versus other schools have really low acceptance rates. So again, your likelihood of graduation is impacted depending on the school to which you're applying. Another factor to consider related to the college is the average SAT and ACT scores. So what are the average scores for students who are admitted to this particular school? Are they really high? So that means it's a really competitive school. Are they really low? It may not be as competitive, and all of that is related to how you score. So what are your scores, and how do you compare to a particular school's average admitted student? So using the Collegeize organizer, all right, let me actually look. So I see a couple questions on the Mentimeter. So do colleges still look at the SAT and ACT? I think they do. Some are optional, so you can submit them if you would like. I believe that would provide additional validation. And I think a great thing about each test is you can submit it if you would like. So if you, again, research these topics that you can see here on the average admitted student, and you're within that average or you're potentially above that average, I would submit it. If you're not, I may think again. But that is something that one needs to consider, especially now, given college's potential for looking at the school or not looking at the scores. So another question is, how do you show interest? So again, visiting campus, talking to admissions officers, being able to prove to them that you're interested in coming to that school. So that is something that is really difficult to really quantify. There isn't necessarily a magic bullet to say that, but everyone does it in their own way, and they can do an official college visit, so the college knows that you're interested in coming to the school. Okay, so here we again have the Collegeize organizer. And so as you can see in the highlighted areas, there's the average ACT and SAT and ACT, and also the acceptance rates for the colleges that I wrote down. And as you can see, there are a lot of colleges with acceptance rates maybe in the 50s or the 60s. So again, that speaks to the confidence you should have in applying to a particular school. To say, what are my odds of getting in? Well, students with these demographics, these average SAT and ACT scores, 62% of them were admitted at Clayton State. So that's something to consider when you're assessing your own possibility of getting in. So how do you get in? How do you strengthen your own application to increase your likelihood of getting in? So the first thing is focusing on those things that are most important for colleges, and that is your GPA above all else. So Your GPA shows your preparation and your readiness for college. Again, colleges want strong applicants because they know that they will be able to succeed and do well given the rigor of that particular college. So take those honors classes, take the AP classes, do dual enrollment if you would like to go to a public school. Really just showcase, or even public or private for dual enrollment. But the credits do count more at a public school than they may at a private school. But we can get into that later. So show strength of your GPA, strength of your courses. Make sure you can display your ability to succeed academically. The second part is, I'd say, game the SAT and the ACT. Learn the tips, learn the tricks, things like that. These tests do not measure intelligence. I tell students all the time, they only measure your ability to take the tests. There are tips and tricks to increase your score, and there are ways to make sure you can perform better on test day. So make sure that you're able to look at these resources of how to do better on these tests and apply those how you see fit. On the math section, I'm more of a math person. I did very well on the math ACT. So what I realized is I had to go back and learn 6th to 9th grade math concepts. So understanding what are the interior angles of a triangle? Like what are triplets, the 45, 45, 90? What does that mean? How do you go from a decimal to a fraction or a fraction to a decimal? Those type of things are pretty simple, but that's often where students get tripped up on the ACT and also on the SAT. So make sure you go back and review the things that we actually are reviewing there. Next, follow your passions. Schools love well-rounded applicants. Make sure you're not just only putting forth your academic prowess, but also how well you're able to display your passions. And summer programs and internships, volunteer activities, involvement in the community, those are all ways that you can show your passions. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I went to the summer program, like I said, at Yale, where I took constitutional law and public speaking in the law. I am not currently a lawyer, but it was able to display to Yale that I was able to, one, be serious about my pursuit of law, but then two, I could handle the coursework of intense classes. And so that's something that, again, I feel like that has helped me to gain admission into my dream school. The last question is, so where do you find this information? So where do you find more information about can I get in and those statistics about the average admitted student? One, I would say the Collegeize app. That's, again, a great place to start to find this information. And two, collegeboard.com is a great one. The third is simply applying. You know, I would never discourage any student from applying to their dream school, even if it's a reach school or their likelihood of acceptance isn't very, very low. But you'll never know unless you apply, you know, and that's something that I would encourage all of you to do, is apply to your dream school and at least go for it. All right, let me check. To see if there are any other questions. Do colleges look at weighted or unweighted GPA? Some look at either, some look at both. So it just depends on the college, and it depends on the classes that you've taken. So again, each college is different. There is no universal answer to that one. So another question was, if the SAT and ACT covers a lot of 6th to 9th grade math, should we take that in the 10th grade? I say absolutely. You should take at least a practice test to get ready for it, to see where you're at, and you can understand where those concepts are. I'm not meaning to say that the SAT math is only 6th through 9th grade material, but I want to make sure you at least can cover that, and so that you're familiar with those questions. Let's see. All right, I think that may be it for now. I do want to make sure that I get through everything. All right, so the second question is, can I get out? I know this is meant to be a little funny, where the professors are standing on a plate that says dropout factories, and the young lady is jumping for her college degree. And they say, sure, we lose some, but who is counting? We should be counting. We should all be counting. So when you look at the four-year college graduation rates of particular schools, that may change your idea of whether this is actually a best fit for you. Some schools, as you can see more at the top, have single-digit four-year graduation rates, which means that 1 out of every 10 students that go to a particular school will graduate in 4 years. And we typically think of college as a four-year degree. Like high school, we say freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. But typically now in the US, students are taking 6 years to graduate instead of 4. So again, that has implications for how much you pay and your comfort level. And it also just delays your ability to graduate and to start making your own money and getting your own job. So these are important factors to consider. If you haven't looked at the four-year graduation rates of your schools, please make sure you do so. So again, graduation from college is the goal. So that is why can I get out should be the second factor. If the schools that you're applying to have high four-year graduation rates, it would be a better fit for you and something that you're more comfortable with. And it makes everyone more comfortable with going to that particular school. Discuss that with your family, discuss it with your teachers, discuss it with your friends, and make sure that everyone is comfortable going to these particular schools. That isn't to say you should avoid any college with a low four-year graduation rate, because there are students who go to those schools and they thrive. However, it is something to consider just to make sure that you are on the same page with everyone else about going to that particular institution. It also potentially hints at issues on campus. So maybe there are students who want to transfer out, and transfer rates do factor into the four-year graduation rate of a particular school. Maybe there are night and evening classes that are offered where those students don't actually have the expectation to graduate in 4 years. So that does play a factor as well, because that can have a negative impact on their four-year graduation rate, but it could be a real reason that their graduation rate is fairly low. Sometimes schools offer internships and co-ops and things like that that extend the graduation. But on the other hand, sometimes it can hint at the culture of campus. So maybe students are more into partying and other things and sports rather than academics. And it is really hard to concentrate when a lot of your friends are not having the academic focus. So make sure you at least look at and consider four-year college graduation rates. So again, where do we find this information? The Collegeize app, again, I've designed it for that purpose so that you can see both the four-year graduation rate as well as the 6-year graduation rate. Places like College Board will only show you the 6-year graduation rate. And that's a little, worrisome for me, because it doesn't give you the option of choosing to look at it from a 4-year perspective. And that's why I added that information to the Collegeize app. There are other websites that provide the information as well, if it's not on the Collegeize app, but that is something that you should look at and seek to find as much as information about you can about your likelihood of graduating in 4 years. I will check the Mentimeter. Looks like this is fairly straightforward. No questions there. Can I afford it? So that is the next question. So this is of course, the Drake meme of avoiding the bad things and approving the good. So basically what this is saying is you don't want the debt that you have from your undergrad to outweigh the degree that you get. I know a lot of people with debt that is over $100,000 for their undergrad, and unfortunately they're not making enough with their degree to cover that debt and to live comfortably. So you want to avoid that. What you want to do is make sure the debt that you get, if you have debt at all, is not outweighed by your degree, and you can make the money that you desire to make and use it in ways that is not simply just paying back all of the debt. So again, looking at the Collegeize organizer at my colleges, we see here the cost per year on the far right column. So again, these colleges range in their price and their costs per year from $16,000 at Clayton State and on the low end, and Yale University on the high end, which is about $58,000. So if you look closely, you'll see some schools that are public schools, and what I did was make sure that these schools reflect me as an individual. So we'll get into this a little bit later, but some of these things will change based on your in-state, if you're in-state or you're out of state. We're going to go into a little bit more detail now. Okay, so you guys may have had a little sticker price shock with all of those costs, and that is fair. I will also say that the sticker price is not what students pay. Most of the time, financial aid, scholarships, work study, all of these factors contribute to not paying the full amount that you saw. But that is the starting point for a lot of those colleges. So rest assured that you're going to be able to find some sort of financial aid to help you pay for college. I mentioned public schools before, and I say that because there's a difference with public schools of whether you're in the state of that college or you're out of state with that college. Private schools, it does not matter. You could live, next door to the college, or you can live in whatever state. It doesn't matter when it comes to what they will charge you initially as a starting point. Need-based colleges. So if you haven't heard of need-based colleges, they are colleges that have committed to meeting 100% of a family's demonstrated financial need, which means that families will only pay for what they can afford to pay. And that is amazing. So that puts colleges that would otherwise be too expensive or out of reach for lower income families right back into reach. So now you don't have to be held back by finances in order to attend a specific college. Taking that a step farther, free below college are colleges that have committed to giving full, not charging families anything below a certain threshold. So they're colleges that have committed to not charging students anything for families who make $65,000 a year or less, up to what I've seen as $120,000 a year. So you will not be billed $1 to go to any of these free below colleges. Feel free to research and find and search need-based colleges. There are lists everywhere to make sure you at least know which ones are need-based colleges and which ones are not. So again, as a starting place here, we can look at and understand which colleges are public colleges. So here we'll see all the public colleges are highlighted in yellow. So these are the ones where if you live in the state, you can get that price, or at least in Atlanta, versus if you live out of state. So that factors in, because let's say I really wanted to go to a school like Clemson. That was my dream school. But as you can see, I am out of state, and that price is $41,000. Now I could go to a comparable school in state, which is University of Georgia, and pay less than half as a starting point. So that shows you the importance of that in-state and out-of-state starting point for cost. The next thing, private colleges. So the ones that are not public are of course private. So these colleges are again ones that will charge you whatever their starting point is, no matter whether you live next door or far away. So within the private colleges are the need-based colleges. So I've listed 3 colleges at the bottom in green that are need-based. So that's Boston College, Emory University, and Yale University. So these are all need-based. So even though you may see that sticker price of almost $60,000, you will go, if you go to that school, you will only pay what you can afford to pay. That doesn't mean you will pay zero. That is only what you can afford to pay. And finally, the free below college. So Yale is a free below college. So they say if you make less than $65,000, you go completely free, or at least they won't charge you anything to go to Yale. And with that is important because depending on your income, going to Yale University may actually be cheaper than going to Clayton State University as an in-state student. So that's, again, where that information becomes relevant, is understanding the college costs and how that fits you. Finally, we're just adding everything together where you can see these are the public schools, the private schools, and within the private schools are the need-based colleges, and then within the need-based colleges are the free below colleges. Let me check Mentimeter. Doesn't look like too many financial aid questions or cost questions. If you think of any, definitely go back into the Mentimeter and ask additional questions. Moving on. So again, it is important for your post-graduation life to get the question right of, can I afford it? After you graduate, of course, you'll be able to have a job, you will make money, and you'll try to grow your own wealth and your own financial prosperity. So imagine if you are a student and your college costs are $10,000 a year. So over 4 years, that will be $40,000. However, given 4-year graduation rates, it may actually be $60,000. So you have to make sure that that college cost with a loan, let's say you take it all out in a loan, that you can repay that amount of $60,000 or hopefully $40,000. You can cover that based on your salary after you graduate. So again, where do you find this information? The Collegeize app has a complete breakdown of the financial aid. It talks about the difference between billed expenses, tuition, fees, cost of attendance. It gives a lot of that information. And if we have time at the end, we can go over some of that information, but I do want to make sure that I get through everything first. Additionally, College Board has a lot of that breakdown as well. It shows you what the tuition rate is and with the academic cost, as well as what you're expected to pay in fees. The last thing, as you can see, the nugget is applying. Sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get unless you apply. They can't give you financial aid if you don't submit your application. So just because you see the sticker price that is fairly high, you may not be fully comfortable, it is something you should apply to, because you may get scholarships, you may get additional financial aid that you won't know until you apply. So that does not mean that you go to a particular college if you cannot afford it, but it does mean that you should at least try to cover those costs. So again, talking about financial aid, your parents are also good resources for you to talk to. So they have an understanding of how much loans cost every month, or they could, and how much they're comfortable helping you out in your own, in their own way related to college. Some parents will help out a lot, some parents not so much, but you also want to make sure that you're not overburdening your parents with potential costs as well. So I know some parents who have gone into a lot of debt for their son or daughter to go to a particular school, and that has not been good financially for the parent. So these are all things to consider for your family in the future and for your family, for your parents. Self. So again, SELF is the acronym for size, environment, location, and feel. And that is very important because part of your best fit college match is making sure that it fits your interest. So, what are these things that are important to you? How many students does it has? Is it a rural or an urban feel? Is it in-state or out of state? How is the weather? I can tell you that, again, being from Atlanta and going to Yale, which is in New Haven, Connecticut, I was terribly cold. It is very, very cold in Connecticut. At least it was to me growing up in the South. That is just something to consider. Overall feel of campus. Sometimes when you visit campus, it just feels a certain way. And that is something that is very important for you to experience to make sure that you will be happy at that particular school. So again, some of these things that we can find in the Collegeize app, I've was able to put in the size and the location, but sometimes the environment and the feel, you just have to visit campus. College Board, again, is a great resource for some of these information, but you just can't beat college visits. If you can visit colleges, take tours online. There are virtual companies that do virtual tours. Definitely do as much as you can to make sure that you can get a sense of what it's like to be on campus and how happy these students are. So going back to the organizer is, again, you see the location and the size. So these are the city and states of these schools that I've listed, and the number of students. The largest school is University of Georgia with almost 26,000 undergrads, followed by Georgia State, which is about 23,000 undergrads. The smallest school looks like is Mercer. Let's see. No, it's Spelman College, which is an all-women's college in Atlanta, and they only have about 2,200 students. Lastly, wants and desires. Wait, before that, I will check Mentimeter one more time. How do I get scholarships? So that is a very important question. There are a lot of scholarship websites out there, like FastWeb and scholarship.com. There are also scholarships on the Collegeize app. That is a feature that is there. There are also summer programs and internships on the Collegeize app. So definitely check those out to make sure that you can apply to those that are in the app and increase your likelihood of being able to pay for college and also showcase your interest and your passion. Let's see other questions. Does the college keep track of how many times you show interest for that particular college? I would say it depends on the college. Sometimes there are small schools, there's only a few people who you need to make sure you show interest with, but at larger schools, it may be different people. So sometimes it's just interesting to make sure you show interest, but don't be, overly, I guess, enthused, because that may come off in the wrong way as well. But generally doing an official college visit, mentioning it in your application, mentioning it on your in your interview, those things also are enough to showcase interest. Let's see, any other questions for now? All right. So, wants and desires. So this is a question that I ask a lot of people to reflect on, is who actually influences you the most about college? And take a couple seconds and at least think about yourself and your own college journey. Who are the biggest influences? So I would say the number one influence for you are friends. A lot of students are influenced by where their friends go. Make sure if they want to stay close, if they want to get away from those particular friends. Influence goes both ways when it comes to their friends. So A lot of times when you're looking to see where a particular student will go or what colleges are top of mind, it mimics a lot with their friend group. The second group are parents, and I would just say family, because you may say, your parents may say, I want you to go to the college that I went to. I went to a particular school, so you should at least look at and consider this school. Or I don't like this school. I really love this school. How about this? So parents have a big influence on where students go to school and what colleges they are even considering. I'll say educators, myself included. I've mentioned Yale a number of times, as well as University of Georgia. Whether it's subtle or not, purposeful or not, that is something that at least is top of mind when it comes to preparing and influencing others for particular schools. Sometimes you may see your teacher or whomever have the banner of the college on their door when you walk in. So you see that banner every day. So again, subconsciously, that could have an influence on what you do. And then finally, community. That is something that depends on whether you or where you go. Your community may influence you to go to a particular school or particular types of schools. So again, looking at what is important to you. Again, on the community aspect, historically Black colleges and university could be a pressure for particular students. It could be a sports team. Again, I went to University of Georgia, a great football school. There's a lot of people in Atlanta who support University of Georgia and then who go to that school as a result. So think about those who influence you. Think about what influences you have and what you would like to do. Again, would you want to go to a all women's college, all men's college? Do you want to get away? Do you want to stay close? These are all things that you should consider as a want or a desire. These things should not overwhelm your pursuit or go above any of the other ones. I would not advise going to a school that you want to go to above your ability to get out, let's say, or your ability to afford it. It is not advisable to do that, and make sure that wants and desires stays fifth behind the other four factors. All right. So again, finding your best fit college. These are our 5 factors. We're almost at time for question. So again, the first thing you should ask yourself is, can I get in? That has to do with SAT and ACT rates and acceptance rates. Your job now as a student is to make sure that you're making yourself the most competitive applicant as you can. So that does include standardized tests, that includes your GPA, but that also includes your passion. If you're passionate about becoming a lawyer, go for it. Intern at a law firm. I interned at 2 law firms before I went to college. If you're passionate about medicine, if you're passionate about bugs, whatever it is that you're passionate about, go for it. Display that passion. That will help you gain admission. Second, can I get out? Looking at 4-year college graduation rates, they're very important. As you can see, there are some schools with very low 4-year graduation rates, and that does not bode well for certain students and their pursuit of college. And that's why it's taking a lot of students in the US 6 years to graduate instead of 4. Can I afford it? Looking at the cost of attendance versus tuition. So quickly, tuition is simply the academic cost of attending a particular school. So think about paying your professors, paying the administrators, paying all these people to make sure that they're there and they can provide you with an education. That is what tuition is. The fees are everything else. So fees are room and board, fees are meal plan, fees are access to healthcare, fees are access to the gym and sports and things like that. Those are fees. When you combine everything together, so everything that the college charges you and everything that that are non-billed expenses like books and travel and things like that, that is cost of attendance. So making sure that you know and understand what those things are. Size, environment, location, and feel. So these are, again, things that you want to look at with the demographics of the college. Is it a big school? Is it a small school? Is it in the location that I want? How does it feel to be on campus? And a lot of these questions can be answered by simply visiting colleges or taking virtual tours online. And finally, wants and desires. So what do you want? What do your parents want? What do your friends want? How do those things influence you as an applicant to particular schools? It may influence you away from particular schools. Again, a short story. My parents were going to make me go to the University of Georgia, and that's what their expectation was. At least they were wanting me to go there for my undergrad. I did not want to go to the University of Georgia, so that was a conversation that we had to have, where I had to express my wants and desires, they expressed their wants and desires, and eventually I was able to go to Yale. So as we wrap up, again, if you have not done so already, definitely download the Collegeize app on the Google Play or the Apple Store. Use the Collegeize College Comparison or Organizer. It has been very helpful for me. I hope it's been helpful for you, explaining the importance of those items. As you can see, each one is listed here. That mimics what we've gone over today. And it is just a very great resource, both of them, to keep track of all the colleges that you're interested in and the criteria for finding your best fit college. And with that, I will look at questions. I'll just go through as many as I can. Does it still show interest if you do virtual tours instead of campus tours? I believe so, especially if you're letting the admissions officers know that you are doing the virtual tour and that you've done a virtual tour. You can talk about aspects of college. So Yale, again, has college systems. So I know that's a little confusing, but dorms at Yale are called colleges, residential colleges. And so you get to see the 12 residential colleges that are there and how they're different from each other, where they're located. But you can only see that and know that if you do a virtual tour, if you visit campus. Yale's also very Gothic, so it looks very Harry Potter-esque. So it's a very beautiful campus. So it does show interest when you do a virtual tour because you get more information about the college. The next question, how do the admissions officers know whether you've demonstrated interest? Well, simply whether they know. Knowing whether or not they know is whether or not you've demonstrated interest. So did you write it in your essay? Have you done the virtual tour? Have they taken it down in their system that you visited campus? Things like that. It's a tough thing to sort of quantify because it's, again, different at every college. It may be very easy to do that at a small school, maybe like Spelman, where there's only 2,200 students. It could be very easy to demonstrate interest versus at a school like University of Georgia that has 26,000 applicants. Is really hard for one particular person to remember that another one particular applicant displayed interest. But what you're trying to do is make sure that you've written it, you said it, you've done as much as you can do to show your interest. Do I need to take summer college programs? I would say no. I would say you don't need to, but it does benefit you to do so. Well, I'll also say this is a caveat. If it's an official summer class, as in you're doing dual enrollment, I think that is different than doing a particular summer program. So I did a summer program. So it wasn't an official Yale class that I took. It was a high school class with high school students, but it was at Yale. So I think that's the difference. One is official and it will affect your GPA, and the other is more unofficial and you're doing it to, again, grow yourself, grow your knowledge, and display your ability to show your passions. The next one, if the ACT and SAT covers the 6th to 8th grade math, then it should optimally be taken very early, such as the 10th grade. Again, I think you should definitely take practice tests early And I would say generally as frequent as you're comfortable with. So maybe, once a month, or maybe even a particular section. So if you struggle with math, take the math section and take it to your math teacher to say, I don't understand why I got question 3 wrong. So that way they can say, well, you need to remember converting decimals to fractions. You have to do X, Y, and Z. So these are things that will help you because it gives you time to remember. I'll also say that there are concepts in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade that you are learning. And typically students' grades and scores increase over time. So make sure that you're not simply relying on your 10th grade score to get into college, but you are taking it officially at least once in the 11th grade and at least once in the 12th grade, the official test. Excellent question. How do I ask my teachers for a letter of recommendation? So these are things that you should do earlier on to make sure you're asking in a time where they can write a really good and strong letter. You do not want to wait until the last minute, because then they'll just say, the student is great. They don't, cause issue in my class. They're very smart. You can let them into your school. You don't really want that. You really want them to go into a lot of detail about who you are, how you contribute to class. And I think the earlier you ask for that letter of recommendation, sometimes the better the letter of recommendation is for you. I'll also say ask the teachers who have a favorable view of you. I've known a couple students who asked teachers who did not necessarily have the best view of them. And that was not a thing that I would recommend. Again, who do you show interest to? I would say the admissions officers, homeschool students. So I'm a homeschool student, so I do not really have teachers for letter of recommendation. Who else can I ask? I would do a little research to say what other resources are out there. I would look at people who you've shown your passion to. Again, if you've done internships, summer programs, your counselors, there are people in your life who've seen your progression and you've displayed your progression. Ask them for letters. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a pastor or a leader or a community organizer, whomever is around you that has the ability to write a really good letter of recommendation. I would avoid family members. Of course, hopefully your family will say that you're a great applicant. I would avoid that. So another question. So the need-based colleges would charge higher income people more than a non-need-based college would. I don't think so. It depends on the college and the starting point. I think that that's the issue with the need-based colleges. It isn't that they will charge someone more than another college, but that cost is just displayed differently. So even if the colleges are the exact same cost, a need-based college will give more need-based scholarships to those lower income families, rather than a college that is not a need-based won't give those breaks to those lower income students. So the higher income people, it may not change what you're charged at both colleges. It only matters for those lower income students. So this question is, how do you know if the STEP in a college fits you? I'm not sure about that one. Go on to the next one. Which grades are the SAT and ACT actually taken? So I would say juniors, your second semester junior year is when you should take the official test. Of course, you can take it whenever you would like. You can take it in ninth grade if that's what you would like to do. But I would also say make sure you don't have to send your scores to the college until you're ready to send them. So you can take the official test, but if you're going to do that, I would also encourage you to take a practice test if you're not fully ready to send your scores to schools. There are free practice tests online everywhere. So you do not have to pay to take the test to get a score. Definitely do that via a practice test. Let's see, trying to get a few more. How do you know what size, environment, location, feel is good for you? Sometimes it's just seeing. You know, I don't know if there is a particular answer for that. Ask people, see what it's like to visit campus, and hopefully you will be able to, you know, narrow things down based on the feel part of it. How do you do out-of-state campus tours? Sometimes it's just if your family goes on a vacation. It's summertime currently, of course. So if you have the time to do a road trip, definitely go and do that. Sometimes that is not always feasible, but that is something that is out there. There are also college tour companies that allows individuals to just, you know, pay a couple $100 and then they'll join a bus of a lot of students who will go on different college tours. So that's a very economical way of visiting a lot of college campuses. I know we are at time. We're at 8 o'clock, at least on my time. I'm in Atlanta, so Eastern Standard Time. Let's see, I can answer a few more questions, or if not, I'll try to answer a couple more. Does the sticker price include dorm tuition? Yes, so that is included in the billed expense. So those are things that the college will bill you for. That's essentially a fee, but that fee can be avoided. You don't have to pay to live on campus. You can rent an apartment. You can live with parents. Those are things that are ways that you can avoid certain college costs. I think the last question I will do before I end the session is, can I show the link for the Collegeize chart again? I won't consider that one a question. It's collegeize.org/resources. Actually, I think that is it. I really appreciate the time and the energy and a lot of the questions. I hope this has really been helpful for you guys. You know, this is again my passion that I do at Collegeize. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Reach out, follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. It's Collegeize 101 on all platforms. Download our app. Give feedback to me. info@collegeize.org. So info@collegeize.org. And I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much.